What I wanted to ask you about Dark Souls 2
Yep.
is something that intrigued me a lot when I started playing it, and I actually asked my boyfriend, like, who is this lady? Is she a firekeeper? And he's like, oh, you have to finish the game to find out. But I didn't, so I just went to read up on her.
Okay, that's the spirit.
Yeah. And the lady is the Emerald Herald.
Yes.
So could you talk to me about her?
Oh boy. Emerald Herald is a character who looks like they suffered a lot in the changeover from team to team, because Dark Souls 2, the director was removed and replaced halfway through the making of it, and a lot of things were shuffled around, and it looks like the Emerald Herald is a character who was meant to have a much more complex role to begin with. And we never really found out what that was. But as the game is now, the Emerald Herald, she can level you up. Is she a firekeeper? I don't know. There's the hut with the 3 old firekeepers in it when you start the game.
Right. They seem to be legit firekeepers, right?
Yeah. They're my favorite characters in Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 2.
Because they're sassy.
Yeah, I like games where like sassy older women insult you. They just like don't give a shit and they're just sick of everything. That's my preferred like RPG NPC. Rather than like, oh, chosen one. The prophecy, they're just like, oh, fuck off. And they basically tell you that you're gonna die over and over, which is cool.
Yeah, they're pretty honest about it.
Yeah. So she's not one of them. She can level you up. I don't know how else she's linked to the fire, because she's not. She waits at the fire, but there aren't any other firekeepers in the game. And she doesn't like the way that the fire is made stronger is that you throw bone dust in it. So like she's not really connected to the fire. It's you. She's just standing there and levels you up.
Mm-hmm.
She does basically nothing for about 80% of the game. Then when you head to Archdragon Peak, Dragon Aerie, yeah. When you head to Dragon Aerie, she meets you there. She's already there, and she says that she is basically half dragon. She was made to help break the cycle, because Aldia and Vendrick are obsessed with the cycle of light and dark and how humans are trapped in that cycle, and she was created to help them break the cycle. Then but they failed. So she is some sort of failed experiment, because I guess the cycle is still going.
Right.
And then that's basically it for her. She shows up a couple more times, and just toward the end, she says that her name is Shanalotte, and the name Shanalotte was given to her, I think, by the dragon at Dragon Shrine. Hang on. Emerald Herald. I'm such a scrub.
The dragon gave me this name, for I was born with none.
Yeah. So the dragon gives her the name Shanalotte. And also she gives you the okay, here's the thing. When you meet her in Dragon Aerie, she gives you an item called the Aged Feather.
Right.
And it's played up as very significant, but it's never explained and never set up why she has this feather or why the feather mattered.
Well, the feather says that she's a child of dragons or something, right?
Yeah. But the thing is, like in some of the first Dark Souls 2 trailers, that scene is CG. Like it's really, really significant. There is this scene of her like picking the feather up and putting it in your hand and like clasping your hand really tight and showing you the feather.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Right. Okay. So the thing is, the people who have data mined Dark Souls 2 found that in the data there's a much younger version of the Emerald Herald. She's like 9 or 10 years old. And one of the lines that's associated with her there is she says, oh, is that, I think it's Estintia's feather. So is that Estintia's feather you have?
What does that mean?
Well, no, I don't know, but it looks like the idea is, as a child, you would give her a feather, and then in the present, and it's like 10 or 15 years later, she then gives you the feather back, and that's why it's the aged feather, because she's had it for however long.
Wow.
Yeah, so that looks like that was the original backstory of the stupid aged feather that's, like, never explained. The other thing is the aged feather lets you it's what lets you walk back to the fire with that. It's like a infinite use homeward bone. So it's, like, linked to the fire somehow.
Hmm.
And, like, the way it's called Estintia's feather, like, Estintia is kinda close to Estus,
Right.
which makes me wonder if, like, there was some, like a phoenix or something that was maybe associated with the fire, and you took a feather from that, and that's why it's linked to the fire.
Hmm.
I don't know, though. Like, we've never found what fuck Estintia was.
Well, doesn't ah wait, Gertrude, she has a whole bunch of feathers in her cell.
It's a different game, though.
It's Dark Souls.
That's true. Oh, the other thing about the Emerald Herald is she's got her hair down over one side of her face, and that's because she has 2 different colored eyes. One eye is blue, one eye is green, and that's why her hair is down over half of her face so you can't see the other eye.
And why would that be significant?
I don't know. Just that's why it's there. And like
Hmm.
the child version of her, you can see it.
Hmm.
Oh god, and okay, here's like a creepy fandom dude story. Um, the the voice actor for the child Emerald Herald is still in the credits. So there's like Emerald Herald and then like older Emerald Herald, child Emerald Herald and Emerald Herald. And people before they knew about there was an actual child version, they were like, "Oh yeah, that's because the version you meet at Arch Dragon Peak is older. I can tell because her boobs are bigger." And they'd like, "See, here's a comparison image."
Oh
And I'm
my
like, "Oh god."
god. There is something wrong with our community. We're like the smartest and the dumbest at the same time.
Just staring at the Emerald Herald's boobs for hours and like drawing like, yeah, say it's a couple of pixels wider here. It's like,
You like develop an
yeah,
algorithm.
I guess like this is her after puberty's over or something.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, there is literally a child version of the
Okay.
and another thing that's like lost in translation. When you meet her in Archdragon, fuck, I keep calling it Archdragon Peak. When you meet her in Dragon Aerie, she says you were led here by an image of me, I think. Where's her line? You were led.
Why are you such a scrub, Richard?
Because I don't care about Dark Souls 2 story. Yeah, she says, "Bearer of the curse, it was my own manifestation that led you here," which is a bit odd sounding. The way she's saying it in Japanese is she's saying you were led here by a bunshin of me, and a bunshin is like a doppelganger. It's like like the implication is the real Emerald Herald was in Dragon Aerie, not Arch
Hmm.
Dragon Peak, Dragon Aerie. She was in Dragon. She's been in Dragon Aerie the whole time, and the ones you have interacted with are her like doppelgangers. She's kind of projecting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's very
So
interesting.
that's why she's able like, there's a part after you beat Velstadt where when you turn around, she's already there.
I was wondering about that because when I don't know where I was, but I went into a castle and I saw her by the steps and I was like, "What are you doing here? Go back. It's not safe here and it's raining."
Yeah, the idea is that she didn't follow you, that's just like an image of her, kind of like when you meet the different like, there's a Yharnam that you run into in The Nightmare of Mensis that has one like, just dies if you touch it.
Mhm.
That's 'cause that's not Yharnam, that's like a projection or a Bunshin of the real Yharnam who is still in Thumaru Hill.
But so what happens if you try to kill uh
Well, this is the weird thing, if you kill her, she's treated like a normal NPC and she dies, and then you have to resurrect her at a gravestone to bring her back to level up again.
does the Emerald Herald tell you anything after you kill her and resurrect her?
No,
So she acts like nothing happened.
nothing happens. And you can kill her as part of one of, what's his name again? The wizard who wants you to kill everyone for him?
I don't know if I met him.
I don't remember. There's too many characters in Dark Souls 2. There's a wizard who wants you to murder various NPCs, and one of them is the Emerald Herald.
No.
So you can it's like a worse version of, Gert and Mephistopheles. He gets you to kill Emerald Herald, and, she's have you killed NPCs in Dark Souls 2 before?
No.
Okay, what happens is you can kill NPCs in Dark Souls 2, and they will die, but then after a while, a, like, gravestone will appear where they were killed, and then you can use souls at the gravestone, and that will revive them, like, as a ghost. And
Okay.
then you can interact with them normally. It's to prevent you from, like, there are some NPCs where, if they were dead, it would, like, fuck the game up, basically.
Right.
So if you can murder like everyone in Majula and then they'll come back again as a and you can still like buy stuff from them and talk to them. Yeah. So that happens with the Emerald Herald as well. When I mean she's a projection, really she should just come back again because she should just project another.
That's true.
Also, the Emerald Herald is voiced by, I think, unless I'm wrong, the only Oscar nominee to have ever voiced a Dark Souls character.
Oh, wow.
Ruth Negga, who voices the Emerald Herald, was nominated for an Oscar in 2017 for a film called Loving.
Oh, wow. Good for
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. I think she's too big for the series now and we'll never see her
Oh, it's too bad.
again.
I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
So, you know how she's a child of dragons and how.
Yeah. I know where this is going.
Go on.
Okay. So, the Emerald Herald's real name is Shanalotte. What does that mean in Dark Souls 2? Who knows? We just assumed it was a fantasy sounding name. Dark Souls 3 shows up, and Osiros's kid, who's also a child of dragons, is called Ocelot, which is very similar sounding to Shanalotte. And Osiros, when you talk to him, he talks about humans being slaves, and it's like says you pitiful slaves, and like that you're frightened of the power of Ocelot. It's almost like when he talks about slaves, it's like, does he mean slaves to the cycle of light and dark, which is what Aldia and Vendrick were trying to break with the Emerald Herald? And if so, does that mean that Ocelot, had Ocelot survived, would have had the power to break the cycle like Shanalotte did? So that's that seems to be what they're getting at, the way that they have a child of dragons with the suffix lot. The other interesting part about that is that Osiros kid is called Ocelot. So it's like the lot is a suffix to Ossa something. Like it maybe means like little ocelot or something. No, it maybe means like little Osiros or something like that, like a diminutive version of Osiros. So, well, who is Shana? And the closest to that is Nashandra. When you get all three crowns and talk to Vendrick in his memories, Vendrick is dead in the game, but it's possible to go inside his memory. And he's still alive technically in there, and you can talk to him. And he talks about Nishandra, and he calls her Chandra as like a short version of Nishandra is Chandra. It's like his pet name for her. So Shanalotte could be little Nishandra, like little Chandra. But and like I don't know, like that seems really significant, but I don't know how it works or why. Like, were they trying to make their own version of Nishandra or something? There was a theory, right? Because the three DLCs are about three kings. Like Dark Souls 2's plot, there is a king who is led astray and corrupted by Nashandra, who is one of the children of Manus. Then all three DLCs were also about a king who is on. Two of them she corrupts him, and in one of them it's the other way around. Like he's the bad guy and she kind of like helps him. So the theory was like, okay, well 4 in a row stories about a monarch who has dealings with one of the children of Manus. And then, like, they keep calling us the next monarch. And the Emerald Herald says, "Are you the next monarch?" And at the end of the game, we take the throne, and there's all the stuff about how, like, what does it mean to be a monarch and things. So it was a theory that, like, is the Emerald Herald our equivalent of that?
Right.
Like, is she going to turn on us? Is she actually manipulating us the whole time? And I think Vati did a video on it where, like, it ends with him saying something ominous and, like, a close up of her face. But it never went anywhere. But, like, it would at least have been thematically consistent if, like, the Emerald Herald had turned on us maybe at the end, or, like, we were working for her the whole time or something like that. And
Yeah.
so that's the Emerald. Oh, and also, like, the child version of the Emerald Herald, her hair isn't across both parts of her face, so you can see that you can see she has 2 different colored eyes.
Yeah, you mentioned it before. I was actually listening this time.
Okay. So, like, yeah, it looked like the original Dark Souls 2 plot before they scrapped it and started over was literally about
Sorry, about what?
time travel.
Okay.
So there's bits in Dark Souls 2 where you go inside a memory, and it's kind of like a dreamy sort of place. It's like very gray, and you see places in the past as they were in the you see places that are ruined in the present. You go back there in the past and they complete again, but it's kind of like hazy and gray because it's meant to be a memory. And it looks like in the original version of that story, that was literally time travel. You would literally go back in time to, like, a previous version of Drain Lake.
Mhm.
So it looks like that's how you'd meet the Emerald Herald as a child in the past and give her that feather, and then you'd meet her again in the present. She's all grown up and she gives you the feather back.
That would have been so cool, though.
Yeah, I don't know what the story was where they changed everything, like why they felt the need to change so much.
But you are going to release a bunch of videos sometime soon or not soon, telling us all about it.
Yeah, I would like to try recreating basically Dark Souls 1.5. Do you know about Resident Evil 1.5?
No.
Okay, this can be like this is like the end of this episode. It's like if you're making it through, you get this bonus stuff. Um, Resident Evil 2 had a similar situation, had a similar kind of development to Dark Souls 2, where, like, halfway through the game they erased it, kind of, and started over. They just scrapped it. But, like, there are enough bits and pieces of the original Resident Evil 2 floating around that fans were able to reasonably well, like, based on like dev kits and stuff based on like unfinished versions of that game they were able to find, and like interviews with the developers and magazine shots and stuff, kind of recreate what Resident Evil 2 was originally going to be, and they called it Resident Evil 1.5. So I would like to, at least from a narrative point of view, not actually make the fucking game myself, but like look at like what was Dark Souls 1.5 going to be. Because there's enough stuff lying around that you could kind of piece together how everything was originally going to fit together before they kind of remixed it.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Can't wait to see that.
Okay.
A little more enthusiasm, Richard?
Okay.